Hello everyone, welcome back to online lecture series on Applied Thermodynamics. We are continuing with our topic of IC engine performance and emissions. And this is our last lecture of this topic. So let's continue from our topics that we have studied in previous lecture. In our previous lecture, we began with measurement of indicated power, that is IP. There are two ways of measuring this indicated power. First is by taking an indicator diagram with the help of suitable engine indicators. And the engine indicator types are: first is piston indicator, second is balanced diaphragm type indicator, and third is electronic indicator. And I have given you this three topics as a part of self-study, and I hope that you have completed this by yourself. And we discussed that the indicator diagram is the device that measures variation of pressure in the cylinder over a part or full cycle. So this is the only way we can get the details about total energy liberated before it is measured at the output shaft. So it gives many benefits, like indication of process of converting heat into mechanical work. Other things like combustion phenomena, associated factors such as pressure rise, ignition leak, losses can be obtained or analyzed with the help of indicator diagram. There are two types of indicator diagrams: pressure volume and pressure crank angle diagram. Then we discussed about the pollutants from a gasoline engine. So there are three sources. First is fuel tank and carburetor evaporation, second is crankcase blow-by, and third one is exhaust. So we discussed them in detail, that is evaporative losses. That is two cases, two possible sources. First is fuel tank and second is carburetor. So what happens that in a fuel tank, the vapor form of fuel is get breathes out or being leaked through the air vents. Second is carburetor losses, that happens in external venting of float bowl, relieving the internal pressure as the carburetor heats. And second is hot soak losses, which occurs after the engine has been stopped. The next is crankcase blow-by. So blow-by is the phenomena of leakage past the piston and piston rings from the cylinder to the crankcase. The third one and the major source of emission is exhaust emissions, and this is the major source of automotive emissions. In a case of perfect combustion, we get only carbon dioxide and water vapor, but with incomplete combustion, it generates other gases like carbon monoxide, unburnt hydrocarbon, and various forms of nitrogen oxides. So the two major reasons for incomplete combustion are combustion of fuel at cool metal surfaces and imperfect mixture ratio. So here what happens that when we have a cool surface of combustion chamber, the flame dies before it reaches cool surface. And there are constituents of exhaust emissions are carbon monoxide, hydrocarbons, particulate matter, and partial oxidation product, and oxides of nitrogen. Then we discussed about a 5-gas analyzer. We discussed about a small example here that gives us details like carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, oxygen, hydrocarbon and nitrogen oxides and lambda. So it is having, this is the probe, and it is handheld battery operated 5-gas analyzer. Then we discussed about various types of smoke meters. So first is Bose smoke meter, which is a filter darkening type, and a measured volume of exhaust gas is drawn through a filter paper and which is blackened to various degrees in accordance with the amount of carbon present in the exhaust. Then second is Van Brandt smoke meter, which is also again filter darkening type. Here the only difference is in Bosch the amount of light reflected is a measure of smoke level, and in case of Van Brandt the amount of light passing through the air filter is used to indicate the smoke level. The next we discussed is Hartridge smoke meter. It works on the light extinction principle. So here a continuously taken exhaust sample is passed through a tube like this, which is about 46 centimeter in length, which has a light source at one end, that is, let us say at the top, and a photocell or solar cell at the other end. And this tube is filled with the exhaust sample, and a light is passed through this column, which is used as an indication of smoke level. This smoke density is defined as the ratio of electrical output from the photocell when the sample is passed through this column to the electrical output when the clean air is passed through it. The fourth one is UTAC smoke meter. It works on the light extinction principle, but it differs from Hartridge meter in that way that here in this meter a whole of exhaust gas is passed through this meter to avoid any error of sampling. However, this is not suitable for large engines due to its size increases. So now we are going to discuss about a new topic, and this is the last topic of this chapter, that is emission control methods. So first is air injection. So let's discuss about air injection, that is a direct air injection. Here if the compressed air is introduced into the combustion chamber in addition to air fuel charge from the carburetor. So what happens here, that here we provide air fuel charge plus the compressed air. So this combination gives a better combustion, and hence it reduces the hydrocarbon and carbon monoxide emissions as a result. So the concept is quite simple, that we provide compressed air in the combustion chamber along with the air fuel charge. This will improve the combustion and reduce the hydrocarbon and carbon monoxide emissions. And this provides a tremendous boost in the power with some saving on the fuel. So this is the desired one. However, there is one disadvantage of using the direct air injection here, that it requires an extra air compressor and air valves. So these things is added. So if you see, the drawback of having this is extra air compressor is required, as well as air valves are required. That rises the cost very much. In addition, exhaust gas recirculation will be needed to curb the NOx emissions. So that is all about the direct air injection. Now let's move forward with our next theory, that is exhaust gas recirculation. So first of all, by name itself, the meaning is that we are going to recirculate the exhaust gas. So let us say that here, let's begin with this portion. And very important thing is exhaust gas recirculation device, that is EFR, is used for control of nitrogen oxide emissions. Okay, so let's focus on this figure first, that here let's focus over here. Then this exhaust gas is taken from here, that is through this exhaust gas recirculation line, and through this butterfly control valve it passes and it enters over into this main pipeline. And if you see carefully, this pipeline is connected with this fuel air mixture, and the fuel air mixture enters through this carburetor accelerator butterfly. So here, through this control valve, it enters over here, and here fuel air mixture also enters. So we are combining fuel air mixture with this exhaust gas, and then it directly enters through this inlet valve. And these are our standard arrangement, that is piston cylinder arrangement with combustion chamber, inlet valve and exhaust valve. And one more thing is, we have provided an air injection over here, and this exhaust gases enters into this reactor zone, and this reactor zone or is also known as here thermal reactor, and it is heavily insulated to retain the heat. So that is the exhaust gas recirculation device, which is EFR, for control of nitrogen oxide emissions. So here few points to note down on this device, that as this exhaust gas is taken over here, it reduces the peak temperature of combustion chamber. So what does this do? That it reduces peak temperature of CC, that is combustion chamber. Why? Because the gases which are coming from this recirculation line, there are some inert gases which will work as a heat sink. So these gases will take away the heat here. This also reduces the quantity which is available of oxygen for combustion. And this arrangement is designed in such a way that here this is shut off during the idle condition to prevent the rough operation of engine, as well as this is also shut off during the high speed situation, or that is full throttle acceleration, where the power requirement is maximum. So in two cases this recirculation is shut off. First is in idle condition, because if the engine is in idle condition, this will create rough operation of engine. And second is when it is cut off, it is cut off during a high speed acceleration, that is when we give full throttle, maximum power is required, and in such cases this combination of fuel air mixture with these gases is not desirable. This will reduce the performance. So now let's move forward to our next theory, that is catalytic converter. And catalytic converter is, if you see in today's time, BS4 engines are replaced with BS6 engines, in which catalytic converter is now compulsory. So here if you see, here gas is entering and here gas is coming out. Here this is the first element is NOx element, and second is hydrocarbon or carbon monoxide element. In between we are providing the secondary air. So here the principle, the fundamental is to control the emission levels by changing the chemical characteristics of the exhaust gases. So here we change the chemical characteristics of the exhaust gases. It can control carbon monoxide, here carbon monoxide and hydrocarbon emissions completely at normal exhaust temperature. So here catalyst material such as platinum is applied to a ceramic support which has been treated with aluminum oxide wash coat. So this is the way we are developing the catalyst. So catalyst material, to repeat this part, the catalyst material such as platinum is applied to the ceramic support which has been treated with aluminum oxide wash coat. This results in extremely porous structure. Providing a large surface area to stimulate. Here it is stimulate. Let me write down over here. Stimulate means to increase the speed of any process by some additional means. To simulate the combination of oxygen with hydrocarbon and carbon monoxide. So this porous structure provides large surface area which combines the oxygen with hydrocarbon and carbon monoxide, and this oxidation process converts most of the compounds to water vapor and CO. So this catalytic converter gives the outcome which were possible during the complete combustion. In incomplete combustion we get the carbon monoxide and hydrocarbons, but a catalytic converter with oxidation process happening on this catalyst material, the hydrocarbons and carbon monoxide are converted into water vapor and carbon dioxide. So this is all about catalytic converter. The next is evaporative emission control. So here there are two conditions are given. First, as you can see, we have hot soak condition, and second is purging condition. So now first of all let us discuss about this. It consists of an absorbent chamber, pressure balance valve over here, and a purge control valve that is over here. Two figures are same with the two different conditions. And this is the absorbent chamber. The absorbent chamber, which consists of charcoal bed, holds the hydrocarbon vapor before it escapes into the atmosphere, that is over here. So it holds the hydrocarbon vapor before it escapes to the atmosphere. Now the main sources of hydrocarbon emissions. The main sources of hydrocarbon emissions are the carburetor bowl, that is over here, and the fuel tank, that is over here. These are the main sources of hydrocarbon emissions, are directly connected to the absorbent chamber when the engine is turned off, that is under the hot soak. So the hot soak condition is what? The hot soak condition is when a warmed up car is stopped and its engine is turned off. That is the hot soak condition. This results in some boiling in the carburetor bowl, and significant amount of hydrocarbon loss occurs. So this hot soak loss and running loss from the carburetor as well as tank are arrested in the chamber and absorbed there. So here you can see in hot soak condition, this hydrocarbon, these are the hydrocarbon vapors. So these hydrocarbon vapors are taken from this carburetor bowl as well as from the fuel tank, and they are taken into towards the air cleaner. So if we see the another condition, that is purging condition over here, where the hydrocarbons returns here over here at the chamber, and it is also taken from here and returned back into intake manifold. So that is the end of IC engine performance and emissions. So let's revisit to the syllabus. So that was the fifth unit as per the GTU syllabus in our subject of applied thermodynamics, and we have covered all the topics one by one. The sequence may be different, but we have covered all of the topics. So let's quickly revise what we have done in this chapter. We began with the basics of this topic, that is brake power, brake thermal efficiency and brake specific fuel consumption. Then we discussed about the emission norms, that is two norms are there, Euro norms and Indian norms. Then we studied about the heat balance sheet. Then few methods of fuel consumption measurement. Two categories are there, volumetric and gravimetric. We discussed about automatic volumetric fuel flow measuring instrument. The second was 4-piston flow meter. The third one was automatic fuel measurement device. And then we discussed about measurements of exhaust emissions, in which we studied about flame ionization detector and non-dispersive analyzers over here. The next topic was measurement of brake power, which is primarily done by dynamometers. The dynamometers are of two types, absorption dynamometer and transmission dynamometer. Then we discussed Prony brake, rope brake, hydraulic dynamometer, eddy current dynamometer and fan dynamometer. The next we discussed was measurement of friction power using Whelan's line method. Then Morse test. Next was motoring test, and fourth one is very simple, that is taking a difference between IP, that is indicated power, and take power. The next we discussed about measurement of indicated power using indicator diagram. Then we studied about pollutants from gasoline engine. There are three sources, that is first is fuel tank and carburetor evaporation, second is crankcase blow-by, and third is exhaust. Then we studied evaporative losses, crankcase blow-by and exhaust emissions. We saw 5 gas analyzers and types of smoke meter. Then we discussed about emission. Last topic was emission control method. First is direct air injection, second is exhaust gas recirculation, third is catalytic converter, and fourth one is evaporative emission control. So that is the end of IC engine performance and emissions, and this is also end of this subject. Thank you for watching this video.